Need a gavel?
Listos? We're going. All right. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Waterloo Schools Board of Education to order and ask that you join me this evening in a moment of silence. Thank you. And will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now Sue Flynn will read our mission statement.
The Waterloo Schools community commits to a comprehensive system of education and support to assure that each and every student will graduate prepared for college, career, and citizenship as evidenced by continuing education, pursuing a career path, and contributing to a community.
Thank you, Sue. The first item on our agenda this evening is a public hearing for the sale of surplus property. And so at this point, I will declare the hearing. It's all right. Declare the hearing open.
That was the bell to open it.
There
Yes,
it
it
was.
was.
That was exactly. This notice was published in the Courier, and I would ask if there is anyone here tonight that wishes to address the board on the public hearing for the sale of surplus property. Anyone? All right, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Jesse. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, India. We will be seeing this, hang on. We will be seeing this later on in our agenda. So all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye, motion carried. That takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is a great board celebration. This is the Summer Academy update. I know we've got several folks here in the audience tonight. We don't actually have a motion to put on the table, but this is for information only. So I'm going to call Miss Jen Hartman to the microphone, and I think Tara's got you going live.
Hey. Good evening.
And Gina.
One of the best parts of being Director of Elementary Ed for me this year personally has been being able to work with these fine women next to me. They've done a fantastic job with both our Y Academy, our Summer Academy, as well as our Y Achieve program after school. And so I'd like to introduce them, but before I do, we really want to recognize Gina Weekly, who's one of the members here.
Woohoo!
Gina was selected as the Child Advocate of the Year by the Family and Children's Council this weekend, and nobody is more deserving than Gina. So I wanted to just publicly recognize her for that. But we have Dee Sorrell from the YMCA, Annette Duncan, literacy coach at Lowell, Stephanie Shavers from Operation Threshold, and Gina Weekly, one of our at-risk coordinators at Lincoln, but also coordinates the summer program. And so all of these ladies, in addition to Bree Brown from Irving, have set up and coordinated just such a really successful summer program for our kids.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
First, I would like to say thank you all for the opportunity to serve our district as well as our families with the Summer Learning Academy programs. So tonight we're going to report on two programs. First, our Boys and Girls Club Academy, as well as the Y Believe Academy. So I believe that you all have copies of the summer data. So we're going to start there. So our Summer Academy this year operated at 6 sites again for the summer of 2019. The funding was a combination of school district in-kind and grant partner funding. Our major partners include Cedar Valley Readers, UNI, YMCA, and the Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Valley. Our sites were Becker, Lowell, Kittrell, and Irving for the Y Believe Academy. And then for the BGC Academy, we operated out of Cunningham, Highland, and Lincoln. So not a lot changed this year, with the exception of our efforts of recruitment. As you know, last year we came and presented, and you guys had a lot of questions for us in regards to capacity and the number of slots that we had and the number of kids that we were serving at that time. I am happy to have some celebration and some great news for you guys. This year, you guys kind of challenged us to get those numbers up last year. This year, we had a capacity where we could serve 400 kids. We enrolled this summer 439 students, with 80% of those kids attending, 401 of those kids attending 80% or more of the time for the summer. Nice. To accomplish this, we had very intentional recruiting this year. We got into the buildings, we did some family nights. We also had meetings with teachers. We had some student ambassadors just to make sure that we filled those slots. We improved attendance this year as well. Our goal was to maintain at least 80% attendance program-wide. We maintained that 80% attendance at 4 sites and an overall percentage of 81% average daily attendance for the program. This year, one of the greatest barriers that we found after doing a parent survey last year was the lack of transportation, which was why we weren't able to fill those slots. So thanks to the district, we did provide transportation to those sites, and as a result, we had a lot more kids this year. Our goal for next year is just to continue to build those collaborations and partnerships throughout the community. Currently, our community partnerships, we have partnerships with Green Iowa, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Grout Museum, Kids in the Kitchen, the YMCA, the Waterloo Symphony, Food Corps, Food Bank, the school district, of course, Operation Threshold, Viridian Credit Union, Iowa State Extension, Waterloo Library, Guernsey, and Schoitz. And those agencies do come into our programs and provide services to our youth. In addition to that, a major celebration that we also have is a part of our model is intergenerational leadership model, where our hopes is that our pre-service teachers become teachers in our district. This year, we did have 2 teachers that joined our district from the academy. It's Ezra Sherbak from Cunningham, and Megan Brown joined at Becker this year. Nice. So that's a big deal for us. Do you have any questions pertaining to any of that data so far?
Just how are the sites chosen?
The sites are chosen according to the grants that we secured. So when we wrote the 21st Century Grant, we wrote them for certain sites, and they were, remind me of how we chose Becker, and a lot of it when we, state scores. So those kids the sites where we had the larger number of kids that kind of were on the bubble of proficiency, and Dr. Duncan could talk more about that.
Yeah, those were 3 of the lowest buildings as far as growth, so that's why we focused on those.
You have a comparable number, the 400, and then that had 80% plus. You have a comparable number.
To last year, I didn't bring that. Last year, I believe it was, do you have that with me? 60, it was, yeah, it was lower, much lower. I believe it was 200, roughly, and ADA probably about 60%. It was drastically lower.
I think last year, if I remember right, Stephanie can help us with that, but I believe we had 320 slots. We registered 232, and of that, like 190 met the attendance threshold, something like that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you also talk just a little bit about one of the things, Stephanie, maybe you could too, about this grant in particular and the Y Academy in particular, and maybe this is in your presentation, but talks about it's the students that are kind of in the middle that oftentimes are not getting services on one end or the other. And I think that's why another reason that it's so successful, and that I just am so proud that that you've all done such an awesome job, because some of those kids don't ever get a special, a nudge. And this is really targeting those kids in the middle. And I think that's awesome.
So what we're gonna go into the presentation here. Sorry, Shanley. But the reason that we're here today is to basically celebrate with you all. This program was something that I just wanted to bring back to the area. After being away for 8 years, I returned home, and this was something that I just wrote out and I wanted to bring to our district and our community. Again, it is a program that provides services to those kids that would normally kind of just be forgotten about. It's those kids that are kind of almost there. They're not a big bother in class. They don't have behavior issues, so they would kind of just fall between the cracks of proficiency and non-proficiency. So those kids are the group of kids that we can have the greatest level of impact. So this is our 4th year of the program. We started with 14 kids our first year. The second year we grew to about 50 kids. Last year it was roughly 180, and this year we're serving over 400 kids. So that's a big deal. But at this time, I'm going to turn on the slideshow, and I'm going to introduce our team of people. So the reason it has been successful is because we're a collaboration. It's not just one entity, it's not just the school district, but it truly is a collaborative effort. We have a partnership with Operation Threshold, and our representative from there today is Stephanie Shavers. She kind of serves as our mediator, and she's kind of like our, hey, no, we don't have that much money, slow down, we can't do that. So we're the big dreamers, and she's like, hold it. Dee Sorrell is the Senior Director of Youth Development at the YMCA, and the YMCA is our partner, and they provide our recreational-based programs in the afternoon, as well as the planning of our field trips on Fridays. And then we would normally have Breanne Brown with us, who's a literacy coach at Irving, and Annette Duncan, who is a literacy coach. And they do a lot of the hard work of recruiting, capturing the data, and making sure that we are on track in regards to doing what we say we will do for our grant.
Okay, so we knew coming into this that we couldn't do everything like we do during the school year, so we wanted to make sure we made the main thing, and so we got together as a team, and these were our goals in the green: to prevent summer slide, increase fluency scores as measured by FAST. We had the goal this year to serve 300 students and met that. We wanted to make sure we provided a safe and highly engaging environment for our students. We wanted to collaborate between us, UNI, the community, and then learn from each other. And 80% attendance after you again had discussed the importance of that last year. We really wanted to meet that and bring that back to you to celebrate too. And have fun. We wanted our students to love Summer Academy. So then we met with all of our people that we're going to be serving this year and came up with a mission statement, and they decided on the acronym BELIEVE. And I think this really sums up that we belong, empower, learn, inspire, engage, value, and experience. Okay, so just to define the summer slide, I think we've all discussed that in a lot of different ways. Nationally, there's 2 months of reading skills that are lost, 2.6 months of math, 6 weeks in the fall, as we all know, are spent reteaching those skills that were lost. And this really hurts. They call it refer to it as a faucet theory for students that we serve, because the faucet runs all year long for middle class and higher class students. The faucet of resources, it's the same. We're equitable. It runs all school year long. But for less affluent children, that faucet turns off in the summer. Those resources are not as multiple as affluent children, so their parents may not be taking them to zoos and the library and purchasing books and doing some of those experiences that we get to do through the Summer Academy with our field trips. So we are happy to keep that faucet running for our Waterloo kiddos. And we know that the reason this program's unique, a lot of summer school programs have failed to show results, but we know with all the research out there that if you're blending those academic learning with recreational activities and then forming those community partnerships, that you're able to leverage those resources in a more unique way. So, Stephanie, can I introduce that?
Okay, so during the school year, we made a video. Thank you, Tara. And we really just wanted to showcase the collaboration. We wanted to showcase our babies. We really just wanted to showcase kind of the total picture of Y Academy. During that time, we had a media day. We did 3 days where we invited everyone in the community to kind of come and see this in action, why it works, how it works. You kind of get chills watching everything kind of come together. So it was important that our stakeholders came. Sometimes as funders, they just write the check. They're not really, there's not a lot of follow-up to see how it works. So we were really proud to have several stakeholders and community leaders to kind of come and see. We had a site at Becker, Lowell, and Irving, so they could pick one. You can come to all of them. So yeah, it was really great. It's such an honor to work with these ladies. I know I'm the rain cloud sometimes, but it's such an honor to work with these big dreamers. Like, they really encourage you to kind of dream big for our kids, and we want our kids to dream big also. Oh.
Though I believe Summer Academy seeks to build strong, literate, and empowered children prepared to make a difference in themselves, their families, and their communities.
So the Summer Academy plays a much needed role with helping to curb the summer learning loss and helping to close the achievement gap. By providing summer and after school reading enrichment opportunities, we provide youth with other resources to help level the playing field for all of our children.
In partnerships with local schools, community organizations, and universities, the Summer Y Academy has the ability to boost student motivation to read, increase self-esteem, show more positive attitudes towards learning, and also connect children and families to much-needed community resources.
Site coordinators begin gathering multiple pieces of data on school assessments before school is even out, so that team leaders can begin planning lessons that are centered around student strengths and areas of need. No two classrooms at Academy are teaching the same exact thing because no two groups of students are the same.
So literacy coaches at each of the buildings in January begin looking at mid-year reading level scores, and from those assessments we choose students from the 25th to the 75th percentile, working to choose bubble students.
The morning academic portion of our day is 3 hours long. We focus on literacy and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. The literacy portion of our day is 90 minutes long and is similar to the instruction during a regular school day. The STEM portion is 60 minutes long, and we use the Engineering as Elementary and Engage New York curriculums, which is motivating and engaging for all of our students. Students have the opportunity to work collaboratively and develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
Students in our program receive free breakfast and lunch through the Waterloo School District, and then in the afternoon we have snack, and that is provided by the food bank.
My Y is the future of our community. These kids are the future leaders of Waterloo, or whichever community they choose to be a part of, and they have so much to give. They deserve every opportunity that we can provide, even when school is not in session, to learn and grow together in a positive environment. And I'm super passionate about this program because we're able to provide experiences that contribute to the success of our students in our community.
My Y is raising student achievement in order to close the achievement gap. We have seen this program directly impact students' reading levels. It has also increased students' confidence and gives them that little extra edge they need in order to be successful when they return in the fall.
My why is that every child deserves a champion, someone who will believe in them and never give up on them.
My why is to make sure I'm providing a safe, happy, and healthy environment for all kiddos. My why is because this program is a one-of-a-kind program that Waterloo has the privilege to offer their students. This program is focused on raising academic achievement for all of our students and has a huge impact on student success.
My why is to help the kids better themselves and make sure they're also improving, but at the same time, they are learning and having fun, so that's all wrapped into one.
My why is basically I enjoy watching scouts and youth experience things that they're never going to experience anywhere else.
My why is I believe that we get to do a lot of things with children, and I love to encourage them and push them further than they ever thought that they could do. And I just want them to believe in themselves and become the leaders that I know that they were born to be.
My why is innovative. I believe that this program gives kids the summer camp experience that any student could possibly dream of, while also giving them really vigorous learning experiences.
My why is seeing the youth become little community members that I know that they can be.
This is my second year as a pre-service teacher with the Y Academy. Last year I taught second grade at Irving Elementary, and this year I teach a mixed group of 4th and 5th graders at Kittrell. The more involved I become in this program, the more I fall in love with it. And I've seen and can speak to the wonders that Y Academy does for our kids. And part of the reason that each summer has been so successful is because of the training provided to us before it starts and the continuing support throughout the program.
As a pre-service teacher this summer, I've had the opportunity to have my own classroom, my own students. I get to design and implement some of my own lessons. And at the same time, I'm being supported and guided by experienced in-service educators. And I'm really grateful for this program and all of the opportunities I've had.
And I couldn't be more excited and thrilled to continue working with the students and the children of the Waterloo School District.
My favorite part with the kids is coming in every day and they come out to me and they give me hugs and they can't wait to be with my staff and myself as well.
I have had the privilege of being with this program since the very beginning, so it is amazing to see where we have come from where we once started.
The thing I'm mainly having fun with here is about reading that we do in the morning. And the highest score I got over the summer is 198 words in a minute. It was 100% an improvement from last year because in the springtime I got 158 words.
We are proud to provide our Y Believe Summer Academy students a safe, rigorous, Common Core focused environment that gives them that extra boost for success in the fall.
We have so many fun things to do in the afternoon. I love the rec specialists. They're all amazing, they're all nice, and the teachers are amazing. I love them.
We believe in this program because it helps our youth believe in their future,
And their potential,
in their dreams.
Hi, so I'm Dee from the YMCA. I had the honor of serving with this team for the first time this year. I'm a year into my role, and one of the first challenges when I met with this team, they talked about the number of kids that we got to get this summer for our program, and not just getting them here, but also keeping them here. So as Gina mentioned earlier, two of our biggest celebrations was that we had over 400 kids that we were able to recruit in the program, and then to add to that, we had over 80% that had an average attendance where they were here daily. The significance of this slide that I want to kind of point out of how that came to be, the whole team recognized really early that that took a really big team effort to make this happen. So with recruitment, as Gina mentioned earlier, there was that recruitment, having family involvement nights, going to the schools, trying to get the schools invested, get the communities invested, and then also being strategic with our planning. So the schedule for the daily activities itself is kind of set up where we have the academic portions in the morning, enrichment in the afternoon, and each week we have a field trip that the kids look forward to. So we strategically place those in the week to say, hey, you know, if you want to go to that field trip on Friday, you want to make sure that you're here during the week so that you can get that reward. We also had the strategy of
when kids didn't show up, whether they were sick or whatever the reason may be, the whole team kind of like jumped in. So you would have a staff at the school that was already calling home to just make sure, you know, what's going on with little Johnny today? Or is he feeling well? Or we noticed he wasn't here. Is it transportation? Whatever the case was, just kind of making sure that we provided those relationships with the parents. So I would say relationships played a major role this year, and also just the support of the community partnerships and the school and everyone being invested in that child and making sure that the family had the resources that they needed to be there daily. So the numbers on the slide just reflected we had around 114 students that were at Irving. For Lowell, we had 103, which was housed at a Kittrell this summer due to having to relocate. And then at Becker, we are proud to have at least 89 students that were there on regular throughout the summer.
Okay, so I'll just do kind of a rundown of all three sites and the data. If you look at on all three of our pages, that first column is the fall percentage that met benchmark when they came back, and that second bar is growth from their spring FAST score to their fall FAST score. So if we think about this, some of those that are lower, if you think about that nationwide 20% of students, or students go down 20% in reading, the fact that we were able to have this good data and significant data shows that we have been innovative and engaging with our students. So if you look at Irving, you'll see K through 5th, some significant gains. And for us, it's a win-win if students just maintain where they left, because we have teachers now that are really complimenting and wanting to know more about this program and how do I get involved, because this year when kids came back, I heard so many times, oh, they were a summer academy kid. They, you know, didn't have that break during the summer. So you can see their Irving's data and then Lowell/Kittrell data. Just in a PLC the other day, and somebody brought up how a student they couldn't believe had left as a low reader and came back so excited to read and had made just huge gains in the summer. And that's not just one story. We hear that a lot, but to keep hearing that even in October is great. And here we have Becker data. So if you notice across grade levels, there are some differences. We've already started to have discussions about what are we going to do about this next year? What are we going to do about staffing? How are we going to raise each other up to make sure that not just a couple of grades are achieving at high levels? So we are going to make sure that we reflect on that before our next summer academy program.
Okay, it's me again. So just to talk to you a little bit about what the Y brings to the program. In the afternoons, we have enrichment programming, meaning we bring in contract partners such as the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. She mentioned a few earlier, where we provide enrichment opportunities for the kids. So whereas the basis of this program kind of starts with closing that achievement gap with literacy and reading, we as a team, we recognize there is a holistic view to this development of our youth. You know, you just don't grow and learn because of your reading proficiencies. However, there are other areas, other needs that we have to kind of nurture and grow for the kids to get the full experience. So each week we had a theme. With those themes, we centered a field trip around that. One week, the kids got to go to the Science Museum and the Science Center in Des Moines, Iowa, which that was a really big deal because we have a lot of kiddos, they've never been there before, or their parents can't afford to take them. So we had a lot of families that were planning their vacations around our field trips because their parents were able to go and experience that with their kiddos. We also took the kids to an adventure camp that the Boy Scouts that they host out in Waverly, where the kids were taught different life skills and they got a lot of different experiences that they wouldn't normally get. The significance with that enrichment opportunity the children in our program get exposure to some of their interests and their likes, and they get to choose a club each week where they can kind of develop and grow their talents. And then that also kind of coincides with what they do in the academic portion. So we do have STEM, we do have literacy, we do have exposure to the fine arts. But overall, it was a great success with the kids this year. We had, I think, 4 field trips that they hadn't done before in the past. So even for next year, we're trying to think what's something new, bigger and better that, you know, we can offer the kids. Yes, we want to expose them to our local community. That was a big part. Let's get them out in the community and let them see what's here, but also let's expose our kids to what's outside of this community as well, because you never know if you might have that future engineer or that future artist or that future whomever that is in our ratio of kids. So if you guys have any questions related to this area, let me know or let us know. Yes, so we've selected the theme weeks for the whole summer, and so we rotated where if one school was in one theme, they would be in that theme, that set of programming, and that field trip. So they would travel with their individual school. So Becker would go to a field trip on a Friday, so they may be in Des Moines at the Science Center, and then you could have Irvin might be at the Boy Scouts camp that week. So we kind of tried to rotate it so it was something new, and plus the themes gave the kids something to look forward to, something different, so they knew it was going to be new activities each week, a new theme to look forward to, a new field trip to look forward to, and we just kind of rotated those schedules between all the sites. Yeah, so depending on how far we have to travel, Fridays is kind of our just enrichment day. So they're either at a field trip, or if we have to travel a good distance for that, part of that time is travel time, but we schedule in activities and stuff in between. If it's a local field trip, let's say that may only take 3 or 4 hours, for half of the day it's the field trip, and then for the second portion of the day the kids are doing structured recreational activities. Any other questions?
I have a question as far as if somebody can explain the numbers to me, because you had indicated you had 114 at Irving, 103 at Lowell, Kittrell, and 89 at Becker, and that is like 306.
Yep.
So
you got to go back to the other. So it includes Cunningham, Highland, and Lincoln as well.
Okay,
is how
you
we get
don't
to that.
have
And I'll
that
talk
here.
A little bit. Yep.
Got it. I
This
was
is
like,
just Y Academy, and I'll talk a little bit about that Boys and Girls Club piece in a second.
And then also, I noticed on the graphs, do you have the same teacher at each school?
No. So each of the sites actually have roughly 6 lead teachers, which are district certified teachers. And then we also have roughly 5 pre-service teachers, which are UNI students that aspire to become teachers. And they have the classroom size. We try to keep them no more than 12 kids to that one staff member, but we provide that daily instruction not only to the kiddos, but to the UNI students as well. So that ratio is a big deal as well.
That's super. That's a super collaborative event. Awesome job there. And just looking at these charts, it looks like first and third grade on all 3 had gains. The one was flat at Becker, but first and third seemed to be huge gains on all 3 sites. So that's really, really good.
Yeah, and one of our, I guess one of our biggest struggles at Becker, as we all know about at Becker, we've had some turnover in leadership there. It's being able to obtain that buy-in with the school staff. This program only works if there's a culture built around the school in regards to the program. Our teachers really assist us in recruiting those students. It helps us with building those relationships with those families, because I'm not in the building every day. We're not in the buildings every day. So if our teachers aren't in there selling the program, our principals, the full school staff, we won't be as successful. This year was our first year, though, at Becker, where we've seen those gains, and we've seen larger numbers there at Becker as well.
Great job.
Yeah.
So, what's the plan for next year as far as will you increase numbers to over 400, or what do you plan? What are some of the plans for next year?
Good question. I guess we asked you guys that. I'm just kidding. So for the Y Academy specifically, we will still remain at the 300 because that's what our funding is allotted for. However, with the Boys and Girls Club partnership, which is what I would speak to a little bit more, it's totally dependent on our partnership with the club, as well as the permission that we get from the district to hire a certain amount of teachers to service a higher number of kids at those sites. This year we did show great improvement as well with the Boys and Girls Club. We were allotted 35 slots for each of those sites, and we did fill each of those sites. We enrolled 37 at each of those sites, with above 30 kids attending daily, over that 80%. One of the challenges with the Boys and Girls Club model is because it just is a little different from the Y Believe Academy, given that those kids get transported to the Boys and Girls Club after program. So that's one of our challenges for next year, is just to continue to grow that, that collaboration as well. But as a result of our summer program, it has opened doors for after-school programs at Lincoln this year. We now have a on-site after-school program where we serve 100 kids each day. And again, these are those kids that would not have those opportunities. So it's opening doors for not only those summertime activities, but as well as our after-school programs. So it's totally dependent on, you know, what you guys say.
Thank you.
Did you see a waiting list with the number of students at Cunningham, Highland, and Lincoln through the Boys Club?
This year was the first year as well. We had a waiting list, so if we did have kids drop off, we quickly put another kid in those slots so that we didn't see that drop in our average daily attendance.
And to add to what Gina said with the after-school programs, we have 3 sites total now that is an extension of the summer. And so what that... Oh, sorry.
You're all right.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yes, thank you.
So adding to what Gina said, this year we have 3 sites now that operate the after-school program extending from the summer. And so what that has allowed us to do is kind of still embrace those kiddos that are there during the summer who are now coming to these after-school programs at no cost to their families. So the funding that we do receive, it provides for enrichment opportunities, homework support and tutoring, meals. We have a super snack meal that we serve the kids so that they aren't hungry or they feel secure when they're in our program setting. And so we're really looking forward to what that data in the future may look like for those kids who have something in the summer and they have something after school as well during the school year.
About how many district funding staff?
For the summer? In the summer, this past summer, we had 18 district certified teachers, and then we also had 2 site coordinators at each of the sites as well. And most of those costs are in kind by the district. The other staffing is paid through our 21st Century Funding and other community resources and grants.
So what we are most proud of is that our students, they had fun. We provided a safe and engaging environment every day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for free. Our students' scores increased in all 3 of the buildings. Again, attendance was over 80 in all 3 buildings. We served over 300 kids. Students from all races and economic levels returned to class in the fall ready to learn. And then most importantly is we did prevent summer slide in Waterloo this summer.
This program ran from what to what? From start to date and end?
The date?
Yeah, dates.
June 24th through August 16th.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
It was 7 weeks this year.
Wow.
Next year, we do propose that we go back to our 6-week model because we had some restless kids and teachers, staff. None of us got a break this summer. Yeah. So it was a long summer, but extremely beneficial to both our district and our students.
And initially it was 7 weeks because we wanted to pad that attendance, but then our kids rocked attendance, so we really kind of did that, and we didn't necessarily need to. So it could work with 6 weeks easily.
Got it.
Perfect. And just, do you collect data on each individual student so you can watch that student's retention as far as you do?
And so we have Brad McCullough also as our data guy through Success Links. So he's able to plug really whatever combination we're asking for. If we're asking for, can you run the numbers of parents that attended parent engagement, and then run that against how well kids did. You know, he's pretty good about being able to kind of plug it in however we needed to get the data that we're asking.
That's super. And then with that 20% roughly that didn't attend as regularly, do you have real causal reasons for that, or?
Yep, most of it was family vacations, illness.
Yeah.
Yep, singing lessons, STEM camp, other summer commitments and activities.
Super. Well, awesome job.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
10 hours seems like a pretty long day for the first graders, second graders, are kind of restless during that time.
You'd be surprised. A lot of our kids often complain when parents show up at 4 or 5 o'clock. Dr. Mohorn can attest to it. Her daughter was a participant. But a lot of our kids, after 5 o'clock, we still have well over 50% of our kids. So the kids don't want to go home at the end of the day. They're that engaged and having that much fun in the program.
What of the 300 kids that are served, how many would be classified under ELL?
Our ELL this year, we had roughly, 18% of that that group, the 300 students. And we did have 2 district ELL staff that gave them differentiated instruction as well.
Gina, the students don't have to stay the entire time.
No.
Could you clarify that?
Yes. So the only mandatory portion of the day is the 8 a.m. to noon, where they're in the instruction. The after is completely voluntary, and we provide it to provide child care assistance to our families. Ooh, very few, if 5%.
At the beginning, parents pick up at noon, and so many kids will even cry, I don't want to leave. And a lot of parents planned to come at noon each day, but then the children have talked them into staying.
Well, I was lucky enough, I got to go to Becker and do a site visit, and I was blown away. The kids were making bridges the day that I was there, and they were doing the weights on the bridges and determining how much they could, what the load of this bridge was. And, I mean, they were completely engaged. This was the middle of the summer. They were on their hands and knees into it. So it was really cool. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I just had one question. From a family literacy standpoint, did the parents kind of talk to you, or did you get an opportunity to find out what are some needs to help the parents once they start in the fall? Did they intimate to you, like, what are some challenges or barriers they had with continuing their child's education?
Yes, we do actually do a parent survey at the beginning as well as the end of the program, just to gauge kind of their views of the program, but also what are some of those barriers in regards to literacy, them being a part of the program, what it looks like for them from their viewpoint. We have a partnership with Hawkeye, the Family Literacy Agency program, where we actually had Lindsay come out, and she does presentations to our families. She makes those connections. We provide them with those resources. We have the nights where the families can come and learn activities to do with their kids at home that are just simple activities, but engaging with their kids, just encouraging them to spend that time and do those literacy activities at home as well.
And Rhonda, I just wanted to add to what Gina just said. Sometimes parents don't engage because maybe they've had a bad experience in school, and so they feel like, I didn't do well, you know, school wasn't my thing and I turned out all right. Or sometimes people they think that teachers, that's their job, is to kind of educate, and they're just the parents to kind of get them there. So really, we continue to want to change that mindset with parents and make them understand that you are your kid's first teacher. So without that, we cannot do it. We cannot do it without parents, period. And so really changing that mindset for parents is that if you are on board, your kid will definitely be. Even if you're reading the paper, let your kids see you reading. Let your kids see you doing that. And then generally, all kids want to be like their parents, so they're gonna do what they see you do.
I just want to say thank you. I already know about this outstanding team. Gina, that's my baby. And this is really a great example of a community schools model. And I just want to say thank you, and I hope that the public is really watching this. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And I think Tara put this out on our Facebook Live so that you all can go back and watch yourselves. Have fun. Or not. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda then this evening is information from individuals and delegations. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, that's okay. I got it. And so this is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to come address the board to do so. And I would ask that you come forward and state your name and address. And I would also just ask that you keep your comments respectful and constructive, because we are all here with the goal of trying to help our students. And you cannot, and I would ask that you not criticize job performance of specific employees of the school district. Personnel matters are private and must be handled not in this public forum. And so with that, I would ask if there's anyone here this evening who wishes to address the board. And you got 3 minutes, sweet girl. We'll let you know. We'll hold up a card.
Okay.
Okay?
Do I start now?
Yes, you go right ahead. And would you just say your name and your address?
My name is Casey Kraft, and my address is 1243 Lincoln Street, Waterloo, Iowa.
Welcome.
I am here to address the board about lightening up the school dress code. Yes, you have been talked about it, about like getting rid of it or whatever, but that is not what I'm here for. I am here to lighten up for anybody who cannot afford, or people who, like any shape and size, who can't fit into any school appropriate clothes that they can get from Walmart or Target or even Goodwill. Yes, we will still have the dress code, and yes, we still need the dress code, because we can't have our students like wear wherever they want, showing too much skin or anything of that kind. What I want to happen, or what I would like to happen, is that we can like make an adjustment on people, kids who can't afford anything. Yes, you do provide some stuff at our schools, and our counselors do help us, but also what about the kids who are too shy to admit that they need help to their counselors or whoever they need to talk to? Also, for like at my school at East High, we have this closet in the cafeteria that whoever needs to get dress coded, they go down there and they get what they need. Some you will provide that, but not at the right sizes for different people. I also have this petition that 334 students at my school signed who agree with me of lightening it up. And I don't know who to give this to, or if I should give it to you guys later. If you want. I would I don't need an exact answer right away. You guys can like discuss it, and like it could be like for like next semester or next school year. Me personally, I am a senior at East High School, so I will probably be long gone before anything happens. I just hope that what I said today would be inspiring to you to at least think about it for the next school years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to, I'm sorry, I just want to commend Casey. I actually ran into her at the football game on Friday night, and she came up and she said, "You're the superintendent, right? Can I talk with you?" And so she just detailed a lot of this, and she asked, would it be okay if I came to the school board meeting? And I said, absolutely it would be. That's exactly how a democracy works. And so she talked a little bit, we had a long conversation. She actually does have some good ideas about how to lighten up. She had talked a little bit about an idea that she had about t-shirts and spirit wear. She had an idea, we talked a little bit about hooded sweatshirts. So I'm just paraphrasing Casey a little bit of what we had a long talk, didn't we? And she actually brought in one of her friends, Sam, and we talked, and so she did have some ideas. I was able to go back a little bit from the very beginning, give her some of the history of how it came to be. We talked a little bit about some of the safety issues, and she understood that. And I just found her to be amazingly articulate and extremely respectful. And I also just want to commend her because she was quite nervous even on Friday of whether she was going to do this. But I'm super proud that you did, because that's exactly what everyone should do. When you have an idea and you want to bring it forward, you did exactly what you should have done. So good job.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Here, here. Thanks, Casey.
Brother there, or you're
Oh, I wish I wasn't.
All right, let's not call these poor students out tonight. Oh my gosh. Oh geez. All right. Thank you, Casey. We'll be back in touch. So, the next item on our agenda this evening is our consent agenda.
wait.
Oh.
You have more people.
No one's. Oh, I thought she was walking across the. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I thought you were moving.
No issue.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Latricia Hilton, and I live on Lane Street here in Waterloo. And I am an educator by profession, and I've worked in the K-12 system with students and also at the college level with students. And so I know this is the time of year where the Waterloo Schools looks at curriculum and reevaluate curriculum. And I wanted to come and basically have a dialogue about the choice of curriculum and the decisions that are being made about curriculum. My work in the university system involves working with students to provide them support, academic support, in order to remediate them for the classes that they take, specifically STEM classes. So I work to train others to provide those academic support, and I also provide that academic support myself. And I'm not here to say anything about the Waterloo Schools. What I'm here to say to educators is that the curriculum that is chosen in the K-12 system has great impact. And there was a curriculum that was chosen called Investigations that was used in California, and it was also used here in the Waterloo Community Schools. And I believe this is the first cohort of students that are graduating that have used that curriculum through the K-12 system. And what we are finding out is that students have, and it's not because of the curriculum, but I'm telling you what I see in general, so take this in general, is that students come to the college and they do not have the foundational background that they need in order to be successful in their math and science courses. Now, Iowa educational systems, depending on county lines or even city lines, differ. And we have a plethora of different experiences for students. But as someone that is in the system and I get the results of the K-12 decision, I really came here to admonish you to consider carefully the curriculum that you choose for the students. the school system had a publication of the test scores for the School of Waterloo, and it showed that the test scores were not the best. And part of that is, my understanding is that the students are being taught in a system and taught with a curriculum that is aligned with the Iowa Core. However, the curriculum that the students were taught with is an investigation curriculum that does not give them the foundational skills that they need. They have to discover that in that investigation curriculum. Well, when you put the students in a testing environment where they're timed and they're expected to perform, but you also are training them in a very different environment, then you cannot expect the results to be any different than what we received from the performance of our students. Because we trained them in the classroom to do investigation, but on the test, we expect them to perform and give results. So there's a disconnect there. They come to the college level, and I want you to see the progression here and the impact that this has on our students when they graduate from our schools. They come to the college level, and at the collegiate level, in order for them to take all of their math classes, they must, at Iowa State, UNI, and University of Iowa, and also I believe Hawkeye has implemented it, they must take the ALEKS placement test.
Latricia, can I ask that you wrap up your comments? You've hit your 3-minute limit.
Okay.
Tonight, and so I want you to finish your thought, and then what I want to do is, because tonight we can't really get into a dialogue right this moment, but what I'd like to do is get your information, and then we can set up some more dialogue with our curriculum people and or board members, etc. So
what
excuse
my
me for
point
interrupting
is-
you, but I interrupted you.
No, and you have that right. My point is that the curriculum that is chosen has implications. Those students that are coming into the university system must also place a placement test that they were not equipped or are prepared for. And what the end result is that they are paying for remedial classes that they...
To be prepared.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the repercussions
you.
of the curriculum that is chosen in this environment has its consequences, not just for graduation, but further on down in the lives of our students. And I will greatly appreciate consideration for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you tell me what where you are? Where are you employed? What college?
I'm at the University of Northern Iowa. I'm the math and science coordinator.
Good. That'll give me a way to Google you and find you. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have Stephanie and her team.
Yep.
Do a reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now that I cut off the last person, is there anyone else who wishes to address the board this evening? All right, thank you. Then we'll move on to our consent agenda, which this evening consists of 5 items: the minutes of the October 14th, 2019 regular board meeting, personnel appointments and adjustments, bills due and payable and bills paid between board meetings, the appointment of the 2019-20 School Improvement Advisory Committee, and the sale of surplus property. And could I have a motion to put those items on the table, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Sue. And a second? Second. And are there any items that board members wish to have removed from the consent agenda?
Item D.
Item D is in dog. Okay. All right. Then all those in favor of approving items C, E, F, and G, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye. Motion carried. That takes us to item D. I have to wake my computer back up again. And that recommended motion is, Sue, do you have it right in front of you? Thank you. That the Board of Education approve the personnel items as listed.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And discussion.
I just was going through this today, and I noticed that there was a change of assignment of a 5th grade teacher. So I was wondering if that was due to numbers or, at this later point in the game, what that would entail. And then also, I just wondered, when we have these leave of absences, we have, it looked like six teachers with FMLA, which is totally acceptable. What do we do with those positions? Do we hire long-term subs? What do we do?
So I'll start with your first question. Ultimately, that was, yes, it was a situation as far as alleviating student need. And again, that was one of those ones where we talked about it before, hoping to not make some of those transfers late, but ultimately there was a student need and an opportunity that arose that we addressed in that particular way. In regards to the leaves of absences, we do our best, and I say we, I mean our principals and their supporting teachers ultimately do their best to kind of shoulder the weight and shoulder the load of their teachers or their colleagues on leave. And so I just don't want to give you the perception that we have long-term subs always in those positions, because sometimes we're able to find them and sometimes we're not. And I can't say off the top of my head that all of these positions were filled with a long-term sub. I know off the top of my head 2 were, but I can't speak to the other 2 that were. And so we try to do our best that we can, get on the horn with Corey Miter in our office to find those subs, and ultimately also, if we can't, then we try to figure out how we can provide that level of support within the building.
Perfect.
Could you share just a little bit about the criteria for leave of absence? In the past, I've seen on the same document, a leave of absence approved and then a return approved. So some of those are very, very short, I believe. So how does that all work?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, ultimately, within our leaves, we have a certain amount of days and days that individuals can use. And so at times when you have a situation where people have exhausted all their leave, they're given leave as far as, say you had a certain requisite number of sick days. Once you use all those sick days, you may only need an additional 3 days, but since we don't have a framework around how to request for that time, you request for leave instead. And so that's where you may see something that somebody goes on leave and then comes right off in the same board meeting because it's within those 2 weeks or even sometimes a month. The other piece around this is there's a variety of different reasons people have leave. I mean, it could be around a family member getting sick. It could be around a child being born. It could be around at times some health concerns specifically for yourself that you need that additional time for. And so we try to be as flexible as possible with our employees when they take leave, and ultimately in trying to figure out what's the best needs not only for them but also for the building and students as well.
So you typically, do you know something about the duration at the time it's granted? In other words, your action would be different if the person's going to be gone all semester as opposed to a week.
Oh, absolutely. And so if we know this is going to be short in duration, that goes back to Sue's question or Director Flynn's question, where we would make a short-term plan. So maybe get a sub in there, maybe look at how we could manage it within the building. But if we know it's for a longer period of time, that may be where I used that example before, where an opportunity arises. We may have to post for a position. So we would definitely do something different depending on the duration of time. Sometimes we know that information up front. On the rare occasion, we don't, and so we still have to figure out what's in the best interest for students and kids in that absence.
But then a return is automatic, so say a person didn't specify, and then you hire a long-term sub, and then a week later they say, I want to come back, so they can come back.
A return isn't automatic, and so once a couple of different things or 2 things. One, if past a certain number of days, you ultimately lose your rights to that position. And so that's a factor that people have to think about when they're taking leave. And then also in regards to if an individual is gone for longer than 5 days, they have to submit a return to work to our office, and ultimately I have to approve them to come back into work absent that, they would not be able to return to work. So we still have to have a conversation. And again, in general, you're right. Most of those things are automatic. But if there were significant concerns around your health and those questions haven't been adequately answered by the time you return back, we want to set up a plan for where you can provide support not only to you, but obviously again to the building and your students.
So is this the best process, or do other districts have a different process for short term, for those extra few days someone might need?
Oh, I would say that in general, this is a process that districts use. I would say that we're kind of on the cutting edge as far as allowing for people to dip into the district sick bank. That is something that a lot of districts don't have for all of their employees that we afford to all of our employees. That is different. So I wouldn't say that I mean, and you know me, I mean, I'm always looking at what the best or the most innovative solution is moving forward. And I'll dig into it, especially as we're moving into these focus groups to look at whether or not there's other innovative solutions and what we can do to change those things up. Because there are some things that happen in the private sector that I would like to look at what we could use for the public sector. But right now, I do think from a public sector and a school district standpoint, we are doing some of the things that other districts are using as well.
Anything else? Lyle, is your mic on?
Yes.
Now it is. Yes. Okay, thank you. We got it.
You got a dirty look in the back.
All right. Then all those in favor of approving the personnel appointments and adjustments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye, motion carried. That takes us then to item H, which is on page 31. And this is the 2020-2021 high school program of studies. And the recommended motion, I just have to get to it, is that the Board of Education approve the 2020-2021 high school program of studies course catalog.
So moved.
Thanks, Sue. And a second?
Second.
Awesome. And we have quite a litany of folks here. We have Debbie Lee here this evening. We have Cherise Ortman here this evening. We have Jeff Frost here this evening. And Dr. Mulhorn is here this evening. So bring it on, Debbie.
All right, so here we are. First of all, I want to say thank you for letting us share our work with you and to address any questions that you might have. Secondly, I really want to emphasize the collaborative effort that goes into this document. First of all, we have Jeff Frost and Cherise Ortman, who are a huge part of that work, and I especially want to say thank you to them. We have administrators, especially Josh Payton at East and Steve Winters at West, who are so much into this work and helpful toward this work, as well as Carrie Wieland at Expo. We also have department chairs, we have counselors, we have other teachers, so it's a huge collaboration. I do want to take an extra few seconds to also give a huge shout out to Verna Jensen, who is our secretary, and she does an amazing amount of work in pulling this information together. Plus, she juggles all of us talking to her. And she does this job, and so when you look at the formatting, when you look at the information, and she's going to tell us about, well, we have to have this, and I don't have this yet, and we have to do this, and she's so much a part of this work, and so we have to take our hats off to her and thank her for her patience and the contributions that she makes to get this done. So, having said that, you have the board exhibit, you have a list of the major changes. We didn't change a lot this year except in the area of the Waterloo Career Center. So what questions might you have that we can answer for you?
I'll just start with an interesting comment here. One to add to see just in the general curriculum was the African American experience.
Yes.
Which was interesting. We had a question in the forum on that about bringing back in a class for that. So obviously it's not a required class, but that was seemed like a request from the community. So that's.
Well, so let me explain that. We've always offered that class, but students haven't always scheduled or requested to have that class. Therefore, it's not, it doesn't get to be scheduled as a section. So what we decided to do is, hearing the concerns, I said, let's go back to that. Let's create a course that would be interesting for students, not necessarily just a history course, because I'm going to be honest with you, we have enough history for our students as much as they can learn from that. I think it's interesting to tack on a lot of the current as well as some of the local pieces for our African American community.
Yeah, I was noticing that in there. I thought that was really neat.
And so we're going to redevelop this course into something that might be a little bit stronger, might entice students to take the course. So we'll see what happens this year. And our teachers need to sell it.
Would you be hiring someone outside, or if you get support, it will be somebody inside?
No, we have teachers who can teach this within our system.
Okay.
So should it be a separate course, or should key elements be embedded in courses that exist?
Yes, and great question. We have key elements embedded into other history courses already. This is just one that totally focuses on the African American experience, and it's like lifting that out of the other curriculums and really developing that and giving it such a really big take on our local history as well, and the Iowa history of our African American community. And it's rich. It's a rich history.
So have we officially modified the Iowa Core to embed these items, or?
Well, these will fit under a multitude of the standards in the Iowa Core, the new Iowa Core. I couldn't tell you that right off the top of my head, but they absolutely fit. There's no question about that.
So I just like to make a comment. I think, you can't be adequately equipped unless you're adequately staffed. And so, I understand and respect the reality that, we have some men who can teach a women's studies class. Being a feminist is not necessarily gender specific. But when we talk about the African American experience, when we're considering staff who are teaching it, I think it would benefit us to make sure that not only do we have teachers who are certified to teach, and I know that's difficult for our district, but to really have that lens that allows, you know where I'm going with this?
I do.
So I think, again, as a district, I would love to have this cultural immersion course presented as a full-blown course, and hopefully we can identify some teachers who can really teach the African American experience from an African American experience.
Thank you.
That's just my opinion.
And I would support that too, but if you look at some of the other topics like Arab-Israeli conflict, who would be the adequate teacher for that? I think we can't, I think we have to look at the staff we have, and I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that we can't in every class specifically say, well, this person is better because.
So let me just say, Sue, not sorry for cutting you off, but we would definitely hire those that are qualified to teach. So we have to make sure that we're not saying that one has to be from a specific background to be, we're not saying better or worse. My suggestion was that you can't be adequately equipped if you're not adequately staffed. So if as a district we decide to offer Arab American Studies, Israeli conflict, I would hope that we identify someone who has more than just a history degree to teach that class, but has some type of personal experience and background. We really have to be cautious about that. So I hear what you're saying, and I've heard that before. So, yeah.
I want to personally thank you, Dr. Lee, for taking the time out to speak with me earlier. I had a couple of questions, and one was maybe the opportunity to receive, if we know we're going to approve this at a certain time, to maybe get it a little earlier. I know we talked about some of the bigger things that we approve, which I believe this is one of the biggest that we approve in the district. Maybe getting it a little earlier so we can go through. And I know oftentimes stays the same, but some of the things that might get corrected, because I know this African American history question came up quite a bit when I first started on the board, and we didn't know specifically at that time, and still don't, when was the last time this course was offered in any of the schools, and who taught it, and if those persons or people were still around. So I think getting this information a little earlier, we know we're going to vote on it, would be helpful. And I know I had some specific questions for you, and I had a specific math question, so I asked that question again, and you were very helpful. I was going through and I seen, was just reading through and I seen like the consumer math, and it was the only one that caught my eye. And I'll read the last sentence. It says, "This is a study of mathematics needed for everyday adult living situations," which means to me that I think it would be beneficial for that class to be part of the core, not maybe just an elective, because it deals with specific things that would help all students going forward. If that's our goal, is to get students prepared for life out of school. So that's one of the things that I've seen, and then the African American history experience. And I'm not sure if Jesse wants to hit it again. That kind of, he turned my mic up a little bit. But the 1619 project was one of the things that I mentioned to you earlier, and not sure if we would incorporate that into the African American experience class, and how that would be incorporated. So.
And we talked about that, and you're going to help me get in touch with that person.
Yep. I can get you her links and all that stuff.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I do want a conversation with her about some material she sent that I have no idea where it is, and we'll find it.
Astrid, the thing I would like to suggest is, because this is so important, there's no reason why we can't have a work session about that. We can't, we get this really great document that breaks up what the changes are, but if we needed, there's no problem to ask Dr. Lee or someone else to come to have Jeff and Sharice and really pick this thing apart and talk about it. I understand this is a lot of information. I think I'm lucky or maybe not, because I have a high school student, so I feel like I'm a little more immersed in it. But that is something I'm absolutely amenable to.
And Dr. Lee was more than awesome.
Yes. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I understand that not getting your
Yes.
questions, and I just want to make sure that going forward, we can definitely do more digging on that.
And I
Or a
agree,
little earlier.
because the curriculum and the books that we select for this course should be very specific. And so I would like to be a part of that conversation, only because I've been kind of looking into it for just a little bit. So thank you, Dr. Lee.
We created the narrative, and I really depended on the high school department chairs and social studies to do that with some of their teachers. I was very happy with what they came up with when I challenged them with that. So we'll be working on the materials that we're using, and we will be developing the curriculum. So just again, to remember that the curriculum is documents that we have, whether they're thick or thin, and it tells our teachers what to teach and when to teach it. And it identifies the standards, timeframes, names of units, that kind of thing. And again, it can be very lean or it can be a very thick guided document. But the materials and the resources then are that, as well as textbooks. They support the curriculum. And so oftentimes those two intersect and integrate together. But we really design our curriculum around the standards, and then we find materials that will fit our needs. So Mr. Williams and I talked about that, the project
1619 project.
Thank you very much, the 1619
See,
project.
that's why we need that curriculum in the schools.
And we also talked about another book that has come across my desk. Nick DeBonis has written about race relations in the 60s around, what we're doing here. I think it would be excellent. We also have lots of types of materials around rethinking materials. And we also have materials that we can get out of the teaching tolerance organization as well. There's a lot that we can go after and find. We have to build our curriculum, the expectation of what that course will be. But if you want to be a part of that, I would welcome that.
And I just want to jump in and say that we do have a process in which we choose curricular materials. And it's the same process we'll use when we adopt our literacy curriculum, our math curriculum. So I just want it to be clear that we don't just choose and say, oh, this is the one we like, we choose. There is a process, there are board policies that we have to follow in choosing the curricular materials that we use to support the curriculum.
Absolutely.
As well.
I have a question regarding the Career Center courses on page 21 through 24. There's 100 courses, which is great in one sense, and I know a half a dozen of them are quarter courses, and there's a few half a credit. But how do we execute this? Is there a required minimum number of students in order to really teach this course, or can students in the same block be taking different courses at the same? How do we properly execute 100 courses out there?
Sure. Great question. First of all, I want to thank Debbie. It's great to have her back in the saddle again. She's amazing. She's been awesome to work with to lead us through this process. So kudos to Debbie Lee. She's given everybody else their kudos. This woman gets it, and it's great to have her back helping us out here. Second of all, one of the great things, Lyle, is we are nearing the end, actually, with us bringing in our 18th programs. The number of new programs coming in is very, very limited, if any. So the big rollouts of 3, 4, 5 programs each year, we're nearing the end of that. So that's a positive in itself, just because it's so time consuming and intensive to roll out programs. The last thing is, in regards to you guys getting this document late, I will take the blame for that. We have to work through processes, and one of the groups we have to work with is Hawkeye Community College. And it's kind of a negotiation of here's what we want for new programs, and then figuring out which classes are appropriate in order for us to offer them. So coming back to your question, we do have a lot of classes, a lot of courses out there. How do we navigate through those waters in regards to enrollment and, are they offered? One of the things that we do is we bundle courses together. So when you see whatever the actual number of courses that we offer, in many cases they've been bundled together with another course to offset that. So one may be first quarter, the other is offered second quarter during the same block. So a student literally could be out there and they could get 3 Hawkeye credits for one quarter, 3 for another quarter, and then also end up with 2 elective high school credits towards that class. So it's kind of a win-win. They could get 6 college credits in one block, plus 2 high school elective credits in that block, plus all of the certifications and things like that. So we do a lot of bundling of courses there that does make that number 100 a lot less per se in regards to the number of time slots or FTE needed to fill them out. The other thing that we do look at and have to consider here is what courses, and that's one of the things that you're going to notice here, are crossover courses, and what can we bundle that might be applicable to multiple programs or pathways. So I think one of the things that I've told Dr. Lindeman that's kind of been a big thing for me is to start looking at what courses can we bundle together that are applicable within multiple pathways, where a student in digital this, digital that, and IT may all have the same course because it's going to help them or get them to the career pathway that they want to, and still pertinent towards that program.
So if you just think of the first block, the fall block next year, there's 18 career pathways, and each one of them will offer 3 blocks, and usually those 3 classes are all different. So just for the fall alone, that's 54 classes. And so some of those will be repeated in the spring because some kids won't enter until the spring. So, medical terminology, we'll offer it in the fall, we'll offer it in the spring. But when he talked about, that seemed really loud to me. So the bundling piece, like if they're taking, they might be taking, an English course is at the same time as one of the other courses, so there are, so that's why that number gets up there. Not all of them will be taught next year, most likely, but those are the things depending on who the students are, so that's why that number.
And I can give you another example. In like sustainable construction, they list X amount of courses, but like blueprint reading is offered first quarter, and framing techniques is offered second quarter, same block. So the students in that class are literally getting 6 credits, 2 courses, 1 block of the same group of students out there during that time frame.
So is there a specific course list that any specific instructor, teacher is qualified to teach?
Correct. So so what happens is we work with Hawkeye. They tell us, okay, so we say these are the programs that we want to introduce or that we already offer. They give us the courses that we can teach within that pathway. And then what happens is we say, okay, we need to teach these courses. They will then vet the instructor's credentials for us and tell us, this is what you need in order for this instructor to teach these courses. And what we do is we then post our classes or our openings based on the vetting that Hawkeye has given us for that instructor. So the instructors have to be per se vetted by Hawkeye Community College because they are still Hawkeye courses, or DMAC or Kirkwood, who we also work with. But they literally will vet the instructor to make sure that they're credentialed to be able to teach those courses.
I had a quick question about the dropping of a course. It looked like you guys changed it from a 10-day window to a 5-day window. Any reason?
That, are you saying in regards to, a lot of that is just dependent upon Hawkeye Community College's window, if it's a quarter course or a semester course.
Sorry, look like a revision for a general content area. It looked like on page, pardon me, 33. Looked like there was a revision change of dropping a course, and it just says change from 10-day window to a 5-day window. I'm just curious why the change.
I don't think it's a Jeff question.
Oh, it's not a Jeff question, my bad.
Is this the Sharice question?
That might be.
Might be a Debbie's question.
A Debbie question. Okay.
I think those are the dates basically given to us by Hawkeye, that these are the dates when you must drop. Because one of the things that we are very cognizant of is we want our students to drop if they're not doing well, or if there's if they just don't like it, to drop within a window before it becomes so they can drop with a W instead of a WF. If a student fails a course out there, since they're college level courses, or drops with a WF, it has a huge impact on their ability on FAFSA to get student loans down the road. So Sharice is very good at telling our instructors, this is the due date, the drop date, make sure you drop them before them, having conversations with families, making sure with the counselors are aware of our drop dates, because we do not want a student to stay in a course that they're either struggling with or potentially going to fail, because that does affect in the long term their FAFSA and their ability to get student loans. But those dates do come directly to us from the community college.
Jeff, you know, on the applied math that's offered out there, how much statistics is in that? You know how much statistics is in the applied math for advanced manufacturing and stuff?
Okay, so statistics is probably very limited. If you think of our skilled trade courses, well, for example, 2 of them, electrical and plumbing, are distinctly plumbing math and electrical math.
Mm-hmm.
But for advanced manufacturing and sustainable construction, their math slants are a little bit different. If you're in sustainable construction, the applied part tends to be more geometry. If you're in advanced manufacturing with so much XY axis and algebraic equations, the slant or the applied part is more algebra.
Okay, I was just in because I saw we added the 2 statistics classes in there, and I think of in advanced manufacturing like statistical probability and quality and stuff. That it might be good getting some kids some early exposure to stats that are taking that.
Sure. So one of the things that has happened, and actually this is a win per se, is actually we're starting to bundle more of our courses. So we're trying to figure out, if you're at the Career Center and you lock onto a program early, how deep can we get you into that program that's transferable classes and get you not only if you decide to go into Hawkeye, but if you decide to go on to a four-year college,
Right.
what are things we can do to make sure you can get through the program quicker? We've sat down with Hawkeye and I actually have figured out that if you're back in your home building and you have statistics and maybe fundamentals of communication and speech, you can take that at East or West, and then that is all part of the bundling of a pathway. Then you come out to the Career Center and take maybe 3 or 4 courses within that. Those 7 courses alone will get you into a very deep into that program when you decide to go on to a Hawkeye or to a 4-year school. But really we're focused on Hawkeye because when we look at transferability, most of these courses are aligned and articulated with Hawkeye Community College. So I'll give you a prime example here. One of the things you're going to notice, and I'll call it the Core 4, we are adding 4 distinct new programs next year. One of them is K-12 teacher preparation. Another one is going to be biomedical lab technician, physical therapy, and emergency management. What happened is when Dr. Lindeman and I went out to Hawkeye to meet and start discussing our new programs that we wanted to bring in, what they did is they sat down and they started giving us course options. And one of the things they said is, do you know if you just bring in human anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 courses, a semester each, you will have 4 core classes that not only, so these programs are programs that we were wanting to bring in. All of a sudden, it opened up like 5 other health-related programs where students can get 5 to 6, or if they take courses at East or West, like the fundamentals of communication, students can get 6, 7, 8 classes deep into a program, taking courses at East and West, and taking the Core 4. And so we're focused on biomedical, on emergency management, on physical therapy, and the health careers, along with our pre-nursing. But they said, hey, you might as well throw out there respiratory, dental assistant, dental hygiene, the other ones that are listed in there, because you know what? You're already offering 4 of the classes out there. We can bundle, kids can take these 4 classes, and they literally can get into any of these pathways, with your focus still being the ones that you want to focus on, but making the students aware that if you take Bio 168, 183, I think it's Introduction to Health Professions, and the medical terminology classes, those 4 classes literally will get you deep into 8 different programs on top of nursing and biomedical and health careers. So it's kind of a unique thing that happens, kind of like the perfect storm. 4 classes actually that we thought would be 4 health-related programs actually ends up being, I think, 8 or 9 programs because they're essential and required in all of them.
Oh, that's good. I like that we're trying to still coordinate some classes there that are applicable. Like, particularly on the stats for me is more. It may come in more on the kids that are doing pre-engineering and advanced manufacturing, and making them conscious of, want to make something how I do it, because I can make a lot of ways, but it may not be very possible, statistically repeatable one way versus another. So
Correct.
Good.
Yep.
Good thinking.
Is it possible for 9th graders that are not listed as being able to take any of these courses? Is that a hard and fast rule?
No, it's not a hard. We've had freshmen out there, but they're students that have really done a good job of taking as much high school credit courses as they can in 8th grade, getting their C3 out of the way, and then finding a 3-block elective within their schedule somewhere that would allow that to happen. But honestly, it is very, very difficult for a freshman to be out there. I think we've had maybe 2 or 3 total in the last 4 years, just because they don't have near the electives available to them to create that 3-block, 3 periods, 1 block necessary to get them out there.
Okay.
Usually about second semester, sophomore year is when you start really starting to see the free up of electives, where they can start getting out there and bundling at least 3 electives together, if not more.
Okay. I have a more general question on the different diplomas. What's the approximate distribution of standard, honors, and core?
I do not know that, but I would be happy to get that information for you. I know originally when we created the policy, the intent was no more than 5% with the core. I do not know if the district has held on to that in the last 2 years or not. But is it okay if we get you that information and maybe Pam can send that out to y'all?
And my other question is, do we know the number of students that are taking pass-fail courses? Why don't you add
I
that?
do, no.
Add that.
You know what? I was gonna memorize that like tomorrow, but I don't have that, no. I don't know, I guess we could generate some kind of a search on that. Let me talk to the technology people and let me find out. Not too many do that, but,
Matt's shaking his head, absolutely not.
okay.
Just
Thank you.
Let me see what we can dig up on that for you, okay?
You know, I was trying to just think about, Debbie, on the
programs.
on the programs when kids walk across the stage, the honors diploma is denoted on there with an asterisk beside the child's name, and I'm trying to think of how many little stars there are on that.
A
I
lot.
want to say, like for West High, did they have 15 or 20 maybe, and East High maybe had, that's for the honors
I thought they had more
diploma,
than
so-
They had more than that.
I
mean,
thought they
they're
had way
standing.
more
They
than
were-
that.
They stood, it was a
Maybe
lot.
20%.
It was,
okay, well,
higher?
okay,
Yeah.
so I just muddied the waters. We will get that information to you. I just am trying, because we denote that.
So we have more than that. You have to only take in, so you only have to take 5 full year courses.
Sharice, come over here to the microphone,
For
please.
the advanced play, you
Pardon
have to
me.
take 5
Yeah,
advanced
Spot me.
it has to be
courses.
10 credits, which is a
You have to have
semester.
53 credits and 5 years of advanced.
Five courses.
5 courses that are a year long. So if you think about, AP or 2-year courses and AP or 1-year courses, they only have to have
IB.
5, or concurrent, they have to have 10, because their semester.
So how many honors diploma kids?
We're way more than that. We'll get you the numbers,
Okay.
but it would be way more than 20.
Okay.
Significantly
So
more.
maybe I was just thinking of IB because they're, yeah, I'm
Yep.
sure that's why. I
They're
said-
starred and they have H's and asterisks and
Okay,
other
we'll
stuff.
look at that.
So.
We don't make that,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
don't make that notation for the core diploma. We only do that for the honors, but we
right.
can get those numbers for you.
And I was just wondering about the ELL classes with, some of our new populations coming in. And are those full to capacity or how, and then when do they time out? I know there's so many years of services, it's 7, yeah. But then once they, are in high school, but we still service them, I guess just how that's flowing with the ELL population.
Well, just so you know, they don't time out at 7 years. The funding ceases after 5 years.
Yeah.
So we get funding for 5 years, which is up from 3 years, which is what it used to be a few years ago, and then the legislature increased it. But we will serve them until they are proficient. I think where you're getting the number 7, and you're remembering that rightfully, if you go back to research, the research shows that it takes usually from 5 to 7 years, more likely 7, if they come as a non-speaker and if they haven't mastered their first language. So you're remembering that, right? But we will keep serving them until such time when they are proficient or graduate.
One more question on the core diploma.
Yes.
That requires special permission, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It requires an application. The honors does too, but the piece about the core diploma is that there has to be some barrier in the child's or student's life that is preventing them from being able to take our full standard set of courses.
Would ELL
They
be one of those?
Usually not. Usually not. And they still have to meet the 4-3-3-3. The 4 years, the 3 years, the 3 and 3 in English, math, science, and social studies. That is still required in that core. That's state law, I think.
Thank you.
Another one I'd like seeing here, just because I've had kids taking these, is the advanced strength and conditioning. I thought is that totally new next year?
Yes.
That's neat, because my kids have taken the strength and conditioning class and
Yes.
they really enjoyed it. It's a nice point in their day and seeing something for advanced for kids that really want to
Yeah.
tune into that mindset. So I like that.
Oh, well,
Thank-
let's add that to the list.
Okay.
How many,
You're going to have to write an epistle tomorrow for all of us.
how many students are exempt themselves from PE?
Okay, we will get that.
An
Really?
academic exemption.
Do we really have a legitimate PE program, or is it
we do.
Oh.
half the students?
We have a good PE program.
For 9 through 12?
But I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
but if students exempt out, then they don't get the benefit of that.
Do you want
Right.
all the exemptions or only the academic one?
I guess the academic, because the other ones are gonna be sports, so they're gonna,
Sports and religion, yeah.
yeah, academic.
Okay.
All right. Clear.
Would there be, besides band?
Band also, right?
Band also, excuse me?
Would be academic.
Yeah, would be considered
Yes.
academic, so they would be
Yes.
exempt.
They just have to have a full schedule of
Yep.
courses, 7 periods, 8 now? Is it 8?
8.
I apologize. 8 courses full. And then they're exempt from PE. If they drop one, they lose their exemption, they have to
Yep.
get re-enrolled in it at the next semester.
And at one time, we talked about an alternate PE program of some kind at Sportsplex or
We still
something.
have.
That's still there. It's in the.
It's in there. Community wellness, I think
Mhm.
it's titled or something.
We still have it.
But I know the one you're talking about because we talked about kids going there and taking specific
Yeah.
classes there. There was some funding involved with that we didn't have at that time.
So they really, so even if they have a full schedule,
They
There's-
can still opt to go there and I need to look up the course, but there's a course that gets them into the community for their PE.
It's only 12th grade.
12th grade only. Mm-hmm.
Community wellness, page 81.
and they could get a PE credit then.
Transition course for seniors.
And the point of that is that we want to transition them into still taking care of themselves physically in that way with exercise. So it's a nice transition from being in high school then to being out of high school and still, having the connections.
Yeah, but that's why I asked the question on exemptions. If they haven't ever taken PE prior to that, it's a little late maybe. Anyway, we'll see what the answers are.
Well, and it says recommended must have previously taken, that's recommended, but I'm sure that they would, depending on the student, we'd like to get them into wellness, whatever way we could.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
guess in respect to the lady, I guess her name was Miss Hilton, and I see she has left now, but as far as that investigations as far as what, is the district's feel on that?
At the microphone.
One thing that I was thinking about that I want to go back and I want to look at the evidence of the students who are taking ALEX. Very familiar with it. When I taught Talented and Gifted, we use it as like supplemental to the core, extension to the core. It's riddled with like algorithms and automaticity of number sense. So we have more and more kids now who are taking their general math in middle school, and they're sort of maxing out of the algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 by the time they're a sophomore. We even have an increase in kids taking geometry in 8th grade. So it might not necessarily, like I would like to control the variables a little bit here, be investigations. It could be that algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 that you're going to find in a lot of ALEX, students stop at 10th grade. And if they take further math, such as AP Calc or Calculus 2, and now we even have IB Math, Statistics, and Statistics as a concurrent course, if kids are taking these further math, they're not the general math that you might find in ALEX program. So it could just be a matter of what do we need to do to prepare kids for the ALEX, that they have those concepts, but maybe it's something formulaic or algorithmic that they're remembering and they're forgetting, and then they're testing their first year of college, and they haven't taken one of those courses since their 10th grade year of high school. So I'd like to look at the kids who are taking the ALEX at the four-year institutes and compare them to what level of math they were at in high school.
ALEX is the entry test.
Correct. And it's a general, more of a liberal arts math with a lot of geometry, algebra, similar to what you would see in the ACT math.
Yeah.
And we even have students, in fact, one of the things we counsel kids who have taken calc or pre-calc or an IB math for their math, if they haven't taken algebra, geometry, or algebra 2 concepts in a while, we have them practice on Edgenuity, the ACT math, and really focus on that just to get that return if that's bringing down their composite based on maybe memory, not necessarily that there's gaps, but it could be things that are formulaic or algorithms.
Will you send us what you find out about that?
I will. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to communicate with her and find out.
We've got some digging to do on some things, so.
We've got some things.
But still, if that's the deciding factor, whether they have to take a more basic course in college, then it becomes a real issue.
Agreed, yep.
Well, because I do think it becomes very problematic when, like, I had a student that took her 9th and 10th grade math, and then she took nothing else because she didn't like math till college, and it was a struggle to pass the college math test, a class, yeah.
But, there might be a thing where even if not influence, go ahead and try to get your math credit in. I don't think we offer concurrent math, do we? We can take AP, but we don't offer like general math concurrent.
There's a math for liberal arts
There's
that
stats
we
and
currently don't have in the program of studies. We've added so many of those advanced courses, and the statistics and the calculus courses have really been requested by our students that the math for liberal arts is one we could look at again. It's more general math.
I think it used to be like, if you weren't going to go into like engineering science, it was like, I think we call it 109, but it's a general algebra, general college algebra that kids maybe had that could go and just get that credit while they're here, and maybe they won't lose that advantage going to placement because they already got the class. So,
well, you need a basic amount for the financial literacy.
well, that goes back to Astor's point about everybody should have those basic fundamental math skills, and some of that comes through our JA stuff too, but okay. All right. We've got a lot of things that we have now given you to do some research on and get back to us. Are there any more questions for Debbie or Sharice or Jeff? Thank you three. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a very good document. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
yes.
All right, then all those in favor of approving the 2020-2021 high school program of studies, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, same sign. Cheer. Did you guys all say aye?
I did.
Okay. Did you hear?
You get on the microphone, so it's kind of loud tonight.
Are they going to come back and give their results, or are we just going to approve it as is, or with no changes? I guess that's my question. Are we making no changes?
The motion is to approve what has been presented to us, but the information will still come to us. Do you know what I'm saying?
With the thought changes?
Yes.
With the thought changes.
Yes. This is just a draft.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And those opposed, same sign. All right. Wait.
They're not ready to go print that.
Okay.
You're
Wait a
not
minute.
approving that they can print this, correct? Yeah, so this is the copy that would go to, it's a draft right now. You are approving this copy to go to print and we can still change things. If you are recommending that we change things, we need to know tonight, because, or not. It won't go to print until we get an affirmative vote.
Okay, I guess that was my point then. So
Yeah. So
Okay.
back. Okay. So
If you look at the,
I will.
I think it's the last paragraph in the board exhibit. This is kind of what that addresses. We're asking for you to conceptually approve this, but you need to know that there are changes that we do
Right.
all along the year, sched numbers, and if we find errors and things like that, if the course number hasn't been added yet for our district, we add those. Conceptually, we don't change any of the big courses, although we are deleting one, that's the intro to sociology, because students are going to be able to take that through PSEO at UNI, so we don't need to have it in our book. So we're crossing that out and deleting that. I guess I'm asking, this is a big ask, but if you can approve this conceptually, we have a schedule of getting this out to 8th grade students, and we need to have this printed and into the hands by Friday of our counselors so they can work with the middle school to start scheduling.
Right.
So if that's a problem for us to move forward with that, we probably need to know immediately, because we're gonna have to adjust the timeline for all of it.
So I guess my question would be, like, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, because I don't think we've set some of, I mean, the course descriptions are here, but some of the things are not completely set and won't be set. We're talking about October. These classes aren't even starting until next August. And that's how we generally have done that. But so I'm wondering if that is a little bit of the consternation of, I don't.
India, I just want to, maybe this question will help, or maybe this goes to everyone. Of the questions that have been asked of the team, things like who will be teaching the African American experience, how many students get a core diploma, how many students get a honors diploma, what percent are taking PE. I didn't necessarily hear any questions, and I could be wrong, correct me. I didn't hear any questions that, when answered, would change the content of this book. So if there is something of those questions that we're going to get back, if those are changing the content, or if there's a question you have that would delay us printing, we just need to know. I mean, that's fine. We can adjust as we need to. I just didn't hear any questions that would be actually part of this book anyway.
And you're correct. I just wanted clarification on what we're voting on.
No, it's
as
a good
you
question.
pointed out, it was a draft, and I'm like, oh, it's a draft, so we're coming back
It
to
came to you as a draft, but after tonight, should you approve it, then we would remove the draft and send it to print. We
understand
actually
that.
have maybe
That's
just a couple
what
things
I'm
we have to
sorry.
tweak
That's okay.
anyway, but.
But they'll still just give us the answers to the questions that
We
we
will, yeah.
don't.
Absolutely.
didn't
Yep,
know
good
they- Okay.
question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So,
So
my
now
vote's
is the vote still yes?
It's
Okay.
still. It's
So
still
with
yes.
all of that, I'm going to ask that we actually revote, because I feel like we've been a little obtuse, and I'm the one who said it was a draft, so I apologize on that. So what's printed here will be, the answers to our questions will be given. What's printed here will be the guide that's going forward to move on to our 8th grade families. So are we okay, the Board of Education, to approve the 2020-2021 High School Program of Studies and Course Catalog? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, same sign.
There's your answer.
All right, and chair votes aye. So
Thank you,
there we
guys.
go. Thank you. And I want to just say to our whole board, this is a great lesson for all of us in terms of if we have questions, I really want to say publicly that it is super important that we get those questions answered, and sometimes it has to be at the board table, but that if you got this on Thursday and said, oh my gosh, Shanley, we can't vote on this, please feel free. That's what we should do. We should be having these conversations with Jeff and Dr. Lee and Sharice ahead of time so that we can get all of our questions answered. So I'm just making sure, I don't want anybody to feel like they didn't get their things
and
addressed.
I had a question for Jeff. As far as you said, the holdup was Hawkeye. Is there?
Can we speed it up?
Very clear, Hawkeye is a great partner. It's us trying to figure out the courses.
You gotta go home tonight, Jeff.
I want to be very clear here on record that Hawkeye and us have a great working relationship. It just is a process when you have 4 new programs coming in, 20 plus courses, of getting all those ducks in a row. With that said, moving ahead next year, really what we start doing at this point is tweaking courses. Can we get deeper? Which courses are not correct?
Right.
Our side, in regards to Dr. Lindemann, myself, working with Hawkeye, that process next year we can actually have done soon after Labor Day. So our side, in regards to the Hawkeye piece, we've done the heavy lifting the last 3 years. So very clear, Hawkeye and us have a great working relationship. It wasn't Hawkeye, it's just the process of getting in a lot of classes.
Well, I think it's a good reminder to all of us, though, that if we can look at this in September, we should be doing a work session, or we should be, having some more time to take a look at this before, sort of our deadlines are against. So we're up against a tighter deadline.
For the record, though, I'm not necessarily in the camp of no new courses, so.
I think we're looking at tweaking what is better, what is not working. So we're in the I mean, they know where we want to get to, too.
Right.
We're all on the same page.
Exactly.
No, and just
All right.
why I ask that is because if there is, you know, sometimes if you can get a cog in the wheel to be more angled, it might work better. That's all.
We're all good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right. Thank you all. We sure appreciate it. Okay, this takes us then to our next item, which is item A, the technology purchase. And Matt O'Brien, you have been eminently patient. I should have told you to come at 7, not at 5. But I'm going to go ahead and get the motion on the table, and that is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 121 desktops, 8 laptops, 23 iPads, 30 Chromeboxes, and 566 Chromebooks at a total cost of $233,003.02.
So moved.
Thank you, Sue. And a second?
Second.
And discussion. And Matt, I'm just going to say right up front that thank you for only putting that much in this. You know, I didn't even have to talk about the Axios, you know.
I tried to leave as much jargon off, at least
Yeah.
the fiction part of it, to
Right.
make that a little easier. So
Right.
hopefully,
But you all know the questions are coming, so here we go. So I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, well, I'll try to be fairly brief. You all are used to me coming to you in the spring for a purchase that we phase in over the summer of student devices and staff devices. We're doing it a little different this year. We're splitting that purchase, or proposing to split that purchase into 2. The reason for that is Microsoft has announced the end of life of Windows 7, and we have actually 7 of our elementary schools, of which some of their student computers are still running Windows 7. We want to make sure that those are phased out prior to the end of life.
Crash.
The reason being is it would be a security risk to keep those on our network after Microsoft has phased off support, because when they phased out support, that means they're no longer releasing security updates for new vulnerabilities. So it would definitely not be a best practice to keep those on our network. So that's why we're proposing to split this purchase into 2. I also wanted to be clear that the computers, we're not just getting rid of computers because they're running Windows 7. Really, all of the computers that we're proposing retiring are at, or in some cases past, kind of what their expected useful life would be. So these were planned in the cards already. We actually didn't replace them last summer because we already had a very ambitious summer with one-to-one Chromebooks phasing out to 3 grade levels, and several other ambitious projects. So we deliberately kind of split that into 2 for this year. The other kind of notes before you is that we're not replacing computers on a one-to-one basis. So we're phasing out a lot of laptops and desktops. We're not necessarily replacing them all with laptops and desktops. Anytime we make replacements, we want to just have that flexibility to kind of rebalance according to equity and according to the school's needs. So I always work with the school's principal to look at kind of the mix of technology that would work in their building, and then make sure that that still is according to kind of the district's broader framework as well. So it's kind of a balance of both flexibility but also equity and consistency. The other piece that I would note is that we do have a complete plan for the elementary schools that are having replacements. So you're approving a purchase tonight, which is kind of the first part of that. I will still come back to you in the spring, as I normally do, for a request for approval for the second part of that. The reason why we wanted to do that into 2 parts is, one, we wanted to phase it in, but then I didn't want to have you approve an entire motion now, just because there's a chance that pricing models, et cetera, would change. So I want to make sure that you're approving what we're actually getting when that actually happens this spring. So the other note I guess I should probably mention is that we were very fortunate to work with our vendors. We're actually getting the same pricing that we received this past spring, which was based off of much, much larger quantities, and typically the higher the quantities, the better the pricing. We received some very aggressive pricing that past spring. So the pricing that you're seeing in the purchase before you is based off of that. We were able to get the vendors to continue to extend that to us for this purchase.
There's no E-rate involved in this?
Correct. E-rate is just for either internet service or network related equipment, so it doesn't actually, we're not eligible to apply for E-rate for devices.
So what's the typical age of the computers you're taking out of service?
They would range from 5 up to 7. Some would actually be pushing above 7 years old. Some of our older desktops we've kept in service probably longer than they were expected to be able to last.
Are iPads still strongly being used?
So iPads are really probably best used amongst the primary grade levels.
Mhm.
There's some arguments for some other certain uses, like certain creative classes, art classes, that type of thing. Otherwise, when you're seeing iPads on this purchase, it's mainly for pre-K, K1, with a lot of the desktops as well. Mainly it's iPads and desktops for the lower grade levels, and then by the time they hit second, for sure third grade, then we really concentrate on Chromebooks.
You think you'll phase out the iPads?
Well, we've really done a lot of phasing out. You know, they were kind of the hip thing when they first started. I think now folks are understanding where they make sense and where they don't make sense. So at this time, I think tablets still probably make sense at the early grade levels. Outside of, like I said, those special use cases for upper grade levels in an educational environment, then we think a Chromebook makes more sense. So at this time, we're not planning. The count of iPads that we have in the district is going to go down as we continue to phase those out, but we're not completely phasing those out because they still make sense at the early grade levels, I guess is the short answer to that question.
Does this add different operating systems? I mean,
it will not add additional operating systems beyond what we already have in the district. So our district is a mixture of Chrome OS, which is Chromebooks and Chromeboxes, iOS, which is iPads. We do have some Android, like the newer Prometheans actually run on an Android operating system, but outside of that, that's kind of limited. And then otherwise will be Windows 10 across the board for all of our Windows devices once this is phased in. So it will actually reduce the number of operating systems because we'll be retiring one version of Windows, Windows 7, so we'll be down just to Windows 10.
so it's not going to add to your help desk workload or troubleshooting workload?
The number of in terms of software supported, it will not. Now the number of devices, the total number of devices with this proposal that is in the district is going to increase. So from that perspective, workload has a potential to increase a little bit, but Chromebooks also have a total cost of ownership in that they're easier to support, they're simpler to support. So when balancing that out, and then also with utilizing student interns, we're not looking at any staffing needs.
Plus, going to a whole new Windows 10 would generate some additional questions
Yeah.
too. So, question being, I saw Kingsley is getting 219 Chromebooks. So is that?
Kingsley, so that yes, Kingsley Elementary, not Kingsley.
Not that Kingsley.
Elementary.
That's actually a good question. So Kingsley is kind of the exception to what I explained earlier, where we were doing it in two chunks.
We know he's exceptional.
Kingsley, we're doing it in one chunk. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is they have a higher amount of Windows computers that we're retiring, so it makes sense to do it all in one chunk, where most of the other schools were not just retiring Windows computers, we're also retiring kind of their first generation Chromebooks and iPads. So those will get phased out in the second chunk that you approved this spring to be phased in over the summer, where with Kingsley, like I said, for a couple of reasons, it just made sense to do that all in one chunk. So when I come back to you in the spring, instead of 7 elementaries for student computers, there'll be 6, but then there'll also be the annual 1-to-1 refresh for secondary and some other staff needs.
That's what I was going to ask you, is kind of a general percentage of how much this is versus what's coming in the spring, and I appreciated that you just said it, so now I know.
And I also wanted to tell you, I really appreciated the emails on cybersecurity and for Cyber Month. That was very.
I am just
They were
thrilled
excellent.
someone's reading those.
I am.
Actually, I was really pleasantly surprised that I've actually gotten some positive feedback on those as well. So I'm glad folks are reading.
Yeah. And then what do we do, let's say, like at Kingsley Elementary, when you're getting rid of the old Chromebooks? What do you do with them?
So most of them, like I said, are really at the point where they have little to no value. So we actually have recyclers that sometimes we get a little bit of money back from them, but we're not at the point where we retire computers and they have a really high resale value. So nothing is thrown away. Everything is either reused for parts in other buildings to keep similar generations alive, which is going to be the case for some of the Chromebooks coming back at least through the end of the year, and otherwise is recycled.
And would there ever be an opportunity to have a program for like kids that would never have the opportunity to, you know, currently to purchase something that might be somewhat usable, to offer, you know, sale of some of the items?
Yeah, potentially. I actually think there's some my understanding is there's some legal ramifications around that. So it sounds great. We had always shied away from that in the past, just because there was even more limitations in terms of Windows computers, because it's education pricing and the software that's licensed on it, we would have to wipe them, of which it would be no use to people if we wipe them unless they really knew how to buy an operating system, etc. Chromebooks are a little simpler because they don't have some of those limitations, but I think there's still some legal limitations that I would need to check into it more before I give you a qualified answer. I just know that I've heard from some other districts that have explored that and have shied away from it for legal reasons, so I'd want to check into that a little bit more.
I would appreciate it if you did.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they can't be used as standalone devices, not connected to the internet?
So some of our absolute oldest iPads, I am actually giving that option to principals to, if they want to hold on to this, we're not going to support it any longer. So when it breaks, it doesn't get repaired or replaced, and it's not connected to our wireless, but that they can hold on to the device. If there's an app that can run standalone, that is an option that we're using for our iPads. For outside of iPads, Chromebooks, laptops, desktops, they're really not useful without internet access, to be quite honest. The standalone apps really aren't of the same caliber. The other difference with iPads is it doesn't take district credentials to log into an iPad, where with every other device, whether it's a student or staff member, generally they're signing in with their district credentials, which is another security piece.
Anything else for Matt? All right. Then all those in favor of approving the technology purchase, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye, motion carried. Thanks, Matt. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
That concludes our action items for this evening, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lindeman for her superintendent's report.
Well, after 2 hours and 10 minutes, I will be brief.
Oh, why start now?
Why start now, right? So just 3 things, actually. I just want to let the public know, and actually you, that we did a really great 8th grade STEM career fair on Friday out at Hawkeye Community College, and I just want to commend Jill Dobson is the Hawkeye staff member who led the charge on that, but she had a lot of help. She will tell you that, and she also had presenters from all over the metro area, all over the Cedar Valley area, and it was really great. We had every single 8th grader in our district go out for a portion of the day and do that. So it was just, they got to do some really amazing things and learn a lot of amazing things, all in the area of STEMs, science, technology, engineering, and math. So that was really great. We will be releasing very shortly. We have finally finished our enrollment, and so I'm ready now for Tara to start setting up a few interviews for us, because I know the courier likes to know where we landed on enrollment, but we are really excited that we were up over 80 students this year, so that was really great. And we actually have we had almost 90 new students, but then because of the way the supplemental weighting formulas play out, we ended about 82, almost 83. So really great. That's really great news for our district to be up in enrollment. And then finally, I just want to remind everybody about the parent meetings for, I'm sure somebody's going to mention that, but our parent meetings for the 8th graders who are going into 9th grade. We started today. We launched our very first one, and we had 21 parents. We have about 800 8th graders, and so we had 21 who got the check mark behind their name because their parents came, and so it's really great to have that. We actually had Jesse Knight has an 8th grader, and his wife was here for that event, and so it was really good. We had a lot of great comments, and every single person I talked with, one lady on the way out, and she said that this was her 3rd 8th grader, and she said every single time I come, I learn more. And so the feedback forms that they fill out were really great, and so it was really good. So really quickly, I'll tell you the public when they are, in case they happen to see this televised version. We have 2 more this week, Tuesday and Thursday. The one Tuesday is in the evening at Central at 6 p.m. And then we have one Thursday right here in this boardroom at 8 a.m. So if people like evening, yep, I suppose you could. It's Halloween, so
Trick or treat.
Yeah, there you go. And then it's a treat. It's only a treat if people come here. So, and then next week we have meetings on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So that's November 4th, 5th, and 7th. And those places are on Monday it's at Hoover, on Tuesday it's Bunger, and on Thursday it's at Carver. And we are trying something a little different for the evening meetings because they are right at 6 o'clock, and people come for. They come sometimes right after work to get this great content, and so we are actually going to provide a meal. So we would really hope that will entice people to come. So we're encouraging people come right after work. We'll start serving by whenever we're ready, 5:45, 5:40. People can eat, and then we'll do our meeting and get people on the road. It doesn't really take that long, but I did hear today that at Central there are 17 booths set up for people who are, selling East and West merchandise and registering kids for football and cross country and all kinds of things. So 17 tables around for people to visit. So it should be really good.
And Dr. Lindeman, they were talking, about the book, handing this out to 8th grade parents. So that isn't the purpose of this meeting.
Don't get it, the students do.
Okay.
And so we haven't started those meetings with students. So right now we're just going through the process and giving them all of we have some really great handouts that people leave with, and it was a good meeting, really good.
Dr. Lindeman. So we'll move on to board comments, and I'll start down here to my right with Lyle Schmidt.
Just one question. Seems like this year at Memorial Stadium we've had an unusual number of incidents, injuries. So I'm just wondering, has there been a formal review of the emergency medical response, and if not, maybe because we have one that's really life or death matter in short term. I just want to make sure we've reviewed that with medical response officials and so forth, and make sure we have best practice in place.
Aster? Thank you, Lyle.
I have one. Whoa.
I know they're a little touchy.
I have one thing I believe is worth sharing. So I'm real big on athletics and mentorship, and I seen on Facebook a West High football coach put out a statement on his page, basically recognizing and thanking the student athletes and coaches at West High, but he also acknowledged and recognized the students that he had coached from other places, East Highs, and it was seniors in particular. And I thought that that was huge for people in our community to see that we are one community. We support each other, and the mentorship portion of it. I know I'm real critical on coaches being mentors first, because those young athletes that you coach look up to you. You're with them just about as much as their family and their parents. And so I thought that was worth sharing. And just to the coaches and mentors in the community, always try to make a positive impact on our students, student athletes, and any young people that you come in contact with. That's it.
Rhonda?
I just want to reiterate the 8th grade planning parent meetings.
Yeah.
And so for families who might have accessibility issues in regards to transportation, what should we do with that? Just contact the district?
Yeah, they could probably contact their school. I would start with their middle school, and we could see what we could do. to help them.
Because I just wanted to highlight the importance of coming to the those meetings is very critical. So also I want to remind everybody to vote in the municipal elections coming up on Tuesday, November 5th.
Yes. Sue?
And on that, I know that the regional and sub-state games are starting, and I know West plays at home tomorrow. And where does East play their girls?
That's volleyball, correct?
Volleyball.
Oh, they lost already. Okay.
No.
Yeah, I thought they played, but
No, I'm talking about the football team.
oh yes, I was talking about volleyball, but
East is playing, but.
yeah. And so get out and support the teams. And our winter athletes will be starting now. So, and our conferences were held, and I had reports from some buildings that were excellent attendance at conferences. So just want to say thank you, parents, for your involvement in your students' life, because that's what makes a big difference.
Jesse?
Just give a congratulations to we had a number of students doing all-state band tryouts this weekend, and for all those that made all-state or alternate, and congratulations to all the kids who, practiced and took that opportunity to try to make all-state. So.
It's a huge deal. So, India?
I have nothing.
All right. So the next time we will be back in this room is November 11th. And is there anything further to come before the board? All right, then seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second? Second. And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Good evening.
Email today, so I probably should have brought the sheet, but I'm gonna get on my son.